Behind the Porsche name lies an incredible yet troubling story, a tale filled with success, tragedy, groundbreaking innovation, and moral controversy. To truly understand it, we need to travel back to where everything began. In 1898, a young engineer, Ferdinand Porsche, left his job to begin a new chapter in the rapidly emerging automotive industry. Over the following decades, he designed some of the most advanced and fastest vehicles of his time for various manufacturers, earning a reputation as one of the greatest automotive engineers in history. But after founding his own company, his journey took a darker turn. Porsche eventually became involved in military projects for Nazi Germany, a decision that would lead to imprisonment and would ultimately contribute to the end of his life. So fasten your seatbelt, because this is the fascinating story of how Porsche evolved from controversial beginnings into one of the most respected luxury car brands in the world. Ferdinand Porsche was born in September 1875 in a small village in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, in what is now the Czech Republic. During his childhood, transportation mainly consisted of horse-drawn carriages, trains, and bicycles. Automobiles were still a rare curiosity, slowly appearing across the world. His father owned a blacksmith workshop, and Ferdinand was expected to follow the family trade. However, he showed little interest in the business. Instead, he focused on school, hoping to find a different path. Tragedy struck when Ferdinand was 14 years old. His older brother died, forcing him to leave school and help run the family workshop as the eldest son. Those years were difficult. He worked a job he didn't enjoy, but in his spare time, he discovered something that fascinated him: electricity. At a time when candles and gas lamps still illuminated most homes, electric light bulbs were a new technological breakthrough. Ferdinand became obsessed with them, experimenting with wires and circuits in the attic of his house. His father initially dismissed these experiments as pointless distractions, but when he saw how passionate his son was, he finally agreed to support him and enrolled Ferdinand in the Imperial Technical School in Reichenberg. Within only a few months of studying there, Ferdinand managed to build his own electrical generator and install electric lighting throughout his family home. His talent was impossible to ignore. At the age of 18, Ferdinand moved to Vienna and began working for a company that manufactured electrical equipment. His abilities quickly stood out. Before long, he was leading projects and developing new technologies. One of his most important innovations was an electric wheel hub motor, a motor placed directly inside the wheel itself. Initially used on bicycles, this invention later inspired Ferdinand to apply it to automobiles. Around this time, the first automobiles were beginning to appear across Europe. Engineers everywhere were racing to enter this new industry, and Ferdinand was eager to join them. After 5 years, he left his job and joined a company called Jacob Lohner & Co., which had recently shifted from building carriages to producing self-powered vehicles. There, at just 23 years old, Ferdinand built his first car. It was called the Porsche P1. The vehicle was completely electric, built on a wooden carriage frame, and had a range of about 49 miles. While it could only reach speeds of around 21 miles per hour due to its heavy batteries, it was an impressive achievement for the time. Automobiles back then were not yet practical transportation tools. Instead, they were mostly experimental machines used in competitions and races. Porsche continued refining his designs. In 1900, he introduced something revolutionary: the Lohner Porsche Hybrid, a vehicle that combined a gasoline engine with electric motors. This was essentially the world's first hybrid car. It set speed records and won several competitions, reaching speeds of around 36 miles per hour. Despite its brilliance, the vehicle was extremely heavy and complicated, showing the limitations of electric technology at the time. Because of these problems, electric cars would largely disappear for nearly a century. Porsche eventually moved on to work for Austro-Daimler, where he designed his first purely gasoline-powered vehicles. His reputation grew quickly, One of his most successful creations was the Model 2780, built for the prestigious Prince Henry Trials race in 1910. The car dominated the competition, taking first, second, and third place, instantly making Porsche famous in engineering circles. When World War I began in 1914, Europe shifted its entire industrial power toward the war effort. Porsche began designing military equipment including aircraft engines, artillery tractors, and other machinery for the Austro-Hungarian army. These projects further strengthened his reputation as one of the most talented engineers of his generation. After the war ended, Porsche returned to building racing cars. One of his most successful creations was the Austro-Daimler Sascha, a lightweight racing car. Instead of relying on large engines like his competitors, Porsche believed smaller vehicles with lighter weight could outperform them. He was right. The Sascha won 43 out of 53 races, including the famous Targa Florio race in 1922. In 1923, Porsche moved to Stuttgart and became chief engineer at Daimler, which later merged with Benz to form Daimler-Benz. During this period, Porsche created some of the most powerful sports cars of the era, including the legendary Mercedes-Benz SSK. This car had a massive engine, producing up to 300 horsepower, and could reach speeds exceeding 230 kilometers per hour, making it one of the fastest vehicles in the world. The SSK dominated international racing events and further cemented Porsche's legacy as a brilliant automotive designer. Eventually, disagreements with company leadership pushed Porsche to leave. In 1931, during the height of the Great Depression, he started his own engineering firm, Porsche GmbH. At first, the company didn't manufacture its own cars. Instead, it worked as a consulting and design office for other manufacturers, but business was slow. Germany was struggling economically, and very few companies could afford new car designs. Then, a letter arrived that would change everything. In 1933, Adolf Hitler became the leader of Germany. He had a vision, a simple, affordable car that every German family could own. He called it the Volkswagen, meaning the people's car. Hitler gathered the nation's top engineers, including Porsche, and challenged them to design a vehicle that could seat 5 people and cost only 990 Reichsmarks, an extremely low price. Most engineers believed it was impossible. Porsche accepted the challenge. The result was the Volkswagen Beetle. With its rear-mounted air-cooled engine and efficient design, the Beetle was simple, reliable, and affordable. Soon 300,000 orders were placed for the car. But before production could begin, war broke out. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland, triggering World War II. Automobile production stopped, and factories shifted to building military equipment. Porsche began working on vehicles and weapons for the German army, including military versions of the Beetle and experimental tank designs. Some of these projects failed due to mechanical complexity. After the war ended, Porsche's involvement with the Nazi regime led to his arrest by French authorities. He spent 22 months in prison. The harsh prison conditions permanently damaged his health. While Ferdinand was imprisoned, the future of the company rested on the shoulders of his son, Ferry Porsche. Ferry managed to raise money by designing a racing car for an Italian manufacturer. With the payment he received, he was able to secure his father's release. But Ferdinand never fully recovered, so Ferry took control of the company and began building the first car to carry the Porsche name. In 1948, Ferry introduced the Porsche 356. It was a small sports car built using parts from the Volkswagen Beetle. Despite modest power, the car handled beautifully and performed well in racing competitions. The 356 soon gained popularity among drivers and racing enthusiasts. Sadly, Ferdinand Porsche died in 1951 at the age of 75, but his legacy had only just begun. In the early 1960s, Ferry's son, Ferdinand Butzi Porsche, designed what would become the brand's most famous car, the Porsche 911. Released in 1964, the 911 featured a 6-cylinder rear-mounted engine and distinctive styling. It offered a driving experience unlike any other sports car. Even today, more than 70% of all 911s ever built are still on the road. The model became a global icon and dominated motorsport competitions across the world. However, Porsche faced serious financial trouble in the late 1980s and early 1990s. Sales collapsed, and by 1993 the company was close to bankruptcy. To survive, Porsche made a controversial decision. They would build an SUV. Traditional Porsche fans hated the idea. But when the Porsche Cayenne launched in 2002, it became a massive success. The SUV saved the company. Today models like the Cayenne and Macan account for the majority of Porsche's sales. Despite producing SUVs and electric cars, Porsche has never abandoned its sports car roots. Models like the 911, Panamera, and the electric Taycan continue to push the limits of performance and innovation. Today Porsche is part of the Volkswagen Group and remains one of the most respected luxury automotive brands in the world. A company built on genius engineering, controversial history, and relentless innovation.